Well, we're home from the movies.
From last night.
From last night. I'm home from my haircut and mani-pedi.
Woohoo! She got purdied up.
That's right. For you.
There you go, just for you. So, last night actually, we watched The Breadwinner, and we were planning to do a video, but then we got very comfortable and lazy and didn't do it last night. So, and we've been wanting to try YouTube out because horizontal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the big thing, horizontal.
There's 3 of us now. We need more room.
Yes. And,
we're not vertically shaped people.
no, we're not, are we? We're fairly horizontal in shape. Well, 2 out of 3 of us.
Yeah, true. You've become more vertical lately.
Thank you.
Anyway, we watched The Breadwinner.
Yes.
This was a animated movie nominated for Best Picture in the animated department, and it was the story of an Afghan girl who basically disguises herself as a boy to become the breadwinner for the family and try and find their dad who was put in prison.
Yes, she's none of the women in the house are allowed to leave because they can't go out in public without a man.
Right.
Yeah, women are second-class citizens. Actually, I think maybe even third-class citizens. I'm not sure, but yeah,
The
we're not
donkeys
equal.
probably have it better than the women
I'd
there,
say
I'm
so,
guessing.
yes.
It's about the Taliban and its effect on Afghanistan females mainly. It was not a cheerful movie on any way. It was probably the hardest animated movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would. Well, I've seen Grave of the Fireflies, so it's not the hardest, darkest one I've ever seen, but definitely on par.
Yeah, and this was meant to be an expose of the tragedy of living in Afghanistan. Did you happen to catch where it was made? I don't know who made it.
I didn't
No,
catch
neither
that.
did I.
So let's talk about the film first and its content. Do you guys have anything you'd like to say about the content of the film itself, besides what we've already said?
The Taliban suck.
I guess so. It's not an easy movie to watch. Like, it's depressing. It's good though. It's got a good look. It's got a solid look. The animation isn't over the top, but it gets the job done.
All right, so we've moved on to the animation now. The animation of this movie is, some of it is really amazing looking, just gorgeous artwork. So the artwork itself, in certain parts of it, is just absolutely splendidly done. Lots of detail, lots of interesting ways of animation besides the standard. The characters themselves in the main scenes I felt were kind of simplistic, and I believe you said their facial expressions were very static.
Yeah, but I thought the character design was good. All of the characters were distinctive despite, them all being like realistic humans. They're still distinctive from each other. You can tell them apart.
Yeah, definitely. You knew, the different sisters and mom, you could tell them all apart. So yeah, I mean, everything was fine about it. I thought the animation was good. I don't know that I would call it best picture type animation. I mean, we've seen better animation from other films. Whether or not the animation style and the animation compared to other animated movies, whether or not the story was very strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very strong.
Very strong and very emotional.
I'm sure it was nominated for the story.
Yes, the animation was probably not what got it nominated, other than the fact it gave it the category to be nominated into. So then you ask yourself. I felt like the storyline and the characters and the way the script was written seemed to be written more on a very child level, though. So in a way, it felt like really depressing animation for kids, in the sense that it wasn't really high intelligence in what it was saying. It was definitely portraying a message that was very adult and grown up, but at the same time it seemed a bit like it was designed to be understandable by a 6-year-old.
Well, I I think there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, you're trying to make it a universal message that can be understood by all ages.
I suppose so. So that's the movie, and when we get to the point where we actually take all our Oscar reviews later in the month and go through them, we'll decide whether or not this holds up to. Right now, I think the front runners for the best animated are probably this, Coco, and Loving Vincent, which we'll go over a bit later.
I'd say it's no contest with the other two nominees.
Yeah, well, again, the question is whether or not this story transcends the artwork of the other two. Is really what it comes about. Because this artwork was definitely not on par with those two movies, but the story was deeper and more serious, and whether or not that we'll see.
I mean, it's not that the artwork didn't have any strong points, though. The backgrounds were beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a nice looking movie. It's not bad animation. It's just you know, regular animation.
It's not groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Where Coco and Loving Vincent, in their own respective ways, are groundbreaking. There was nothing really groundbreaking about this animation. It was very nicely done, high quality animation, but without any real, like, oh my god, I've never seen that type of stuff before. Whereas the other two were kind of like, oh my god, that was something I've never seen.
Yeah, it's just good 2D animation.
There you go. Jen, you haven't had a lot to say because we've been talking right over you,
That's
like
okay.
we usually do. You know, the alphas.
No, I enjoyed it. I mean, as dark as it was, I still enjoyed it. I mean, women have been treated like second-class citizens most of the time, I'm assuming, in that area.
Certainly in the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
I think early on in the film they
It's like
actually
that-
addressed the fact that when the mother was younger, things were a lot different.
Yeah, she was able to
In
do
fact,
that.
maybe even when the older sister was younger, it was a lot different. So
Yeah, it's definitely important that they made that point, because they are definitely trying to illuminate this problem.
right.
And I mean, I think that despite how depressing it was still a really watchable and really interesting movie.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's partly because of the innocent writing. I
Maybe.
mean, I think it makes it easier to swallow.
That may be.
You know, I think, you know, I just think it is. Like, there were times when I was uncomfortable just because the topic was so bad, and, you know, you're supposed to feel uncomfortable, but it was never to the point where you're just like, oh my god, I can't watch this anymore.
Right.
It was never like that. You want to keep watching it.
Because it's animated, it's a little softer, even though the message is still there and it's still strong. It's not quite as graphic as, say, watching actual bloodshed and killing. And the same scenes, if they were portrayed in live action, would have been far more uncomfortable and harder to watch.
I think that's true, because there was definitely blood.
So yeah, I guess in a sense it softens it, but I don't think it actually deterred from the message any. I don't think it took away from the message, the fact that you weren't having to watch the full brunt of it, you know, but it did soften the blow and allow you to watch it. If you wanted to see what goes on there and you didn't want to watch an R-rated movie, you know, because you don't watch R-rated movies, or you don't want to see that depth of disgust, this gave you the disgust without that heavy
Yes.
bloodshed type stuff that some people are just squeamish about.
Yeah, it's not shock value, I guess.
Yeah.
Except as far as it needs to be.
Right. And I like the fact that there was really no upper political message about it. It was pretty much just, this is the Taliban in Afghanistan, this is how it's changed in this person's life, and this is how it sucks for women right now. And really sucked for a lot of men too. I mean, it didn't just suck for women, it sucked most for women. But,
Yeah.
you know, if you weren't 100% in line with the Taliban, it sucked for you too as a male.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were men characters that suffered in the movies, certainly.
Yeah. All right, so I think we can wrap that up now.
Yes,
We're gonna
it's been a while.
try posting this to Facebook at almost 10 minutes. It'll take a
Yeah.
half an hour to load it up to YouTube. But have a good night, everybody. And tomorrow,
Good night.
Jen and I are going to go see Annihilation
Woohoo!
with Natalie Portman.
Portman. Yes.
So we're looking
Alright.
forward to that tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.